Hello, and welcome to today's first episode in the Miva Masterclass Developer Series. My name is Nick Adkins, and I am the Technical Training and Development Director here at Miva. I want to first mention that this episode was done during a live webinar, but due to some issues with the video recording, it has been re-recorded with the same content. So that being said, let's talk about our new Miva Masterclass Developer Series. This series is a monthly event designed to help Miva developers take a deep dive into essential development tools, workflows, and best practices. Each episode focuses on a specific topic, complete with live demonstrations, a deep dive into real-world examples, and insights from our internal development team. This series is intended to give developers direct access to knowledge and techniques that are helpful to build, optimize, and maintain powerful Miva stores. Anyone from seasoned developers to devs just getting started with Miva, this series is really designed to help you stay ahead with the latest tools and best practices. Some of the upcoming topics of the series will include building dynamic pages with Page Builder Flex components, accelerating performance with Redis, debugging made easy with diagnostic tools, and we'll even have special guest appearances from our professional services team developers. But in today's episode, it's all about MMT Command Line Tool, which is a powerful way to efficiently manage Miva store templates and resources right from your local environment. So let's go ahead and look at what we'll be talking about today. First, what is MMT? I will explore MMT, why it was developed, and how it helps streamline your workflow. I'll then break down how MMT allows you to edit templates and synchronize changes between your local machine and your Miva store while leveraging version control principles. And then finally, I'll have a live demonstration where I will set up MMT, check out templates, modify files, and even push the changes back up. So if you work with Miva templates, CSS, JavaScript, or manage multiple stores, this tool can really save you time and streamline your development process. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, the MMT Command Line Tool. So let's talk about what MMT stands for first. MMT, or what it means, what it is. MMT stands for Miva Managed Templates, and it's a powerful command line tool that allows you to efficiently edit and manage store templates, resources, all from your local environment. So at its core, MMT was built to solve a simple but important problem. How can developers manage templates, CSS, JavaScript, and other settings without being restricted to using the Miva interface? MMT offers several benefits that streamline development for Miva developers. But before we dive into the command line tool aspect, let's talk about another powerful tool that complements the MMT called the Miva IDE for VS Code. So we know that one of the biggest advantages of MMT we just talked about is that it allows you to work locally in the code editor of your choice, whether that's VS Code, Sublime, Vim, or even those of you that still use Notepad out there. But for those of you that are using VS Code, the Miva IDE extension provides an even more developer-friendly experience. It has things like syntax highlighting for Miva template language and JavaScript, auto-completion for MPT tags, functions, parameters, code snippets that make writing Miva script even easier and more efficient. And then finally, it even has error checking and debugging support that can catch mistakes for deployment. If you're working with MVT templates and want a more efficient workflow, installing the Miva IDE extension for VS Code is highly recommended. It pairs perfectly with MMT, allowing you to edit templates locally and leveraging advanced code editor features. In today's live demo, I'll be using VS Code with the Miva IDE extension to show you exactly how MMT integrates with your development work environment. You'll see firsthand how it improves template editing, syntax highlighting, and debugging the workflows, making your development process faster and more efficient. Okay, now since we understand let's keep digging into the MMT world here. And let's talk about some additional benefits of using MMT. So if you've ever had to click through multiple pages in the Miva admin just to modify templates or scripts, you know how efficient it can be. So with MMT, you check out your templates to your local machine, edit them in one place, and push the changes back up, all through a very simple set of commands. You can even boost your workflow with custom automation. So to speed up workflows, developers have created shell aliases, scripts, or NPM scripts to automate frequently used commands. By leveraging custom scripts, you can standardize your commands across your entire team, and you can reduce repetitive tasks and ensure consistent deployment workflows. You can see a couple of examples I have here. So instead of typing out long command every time, you can do shortcuts like the shell alias here, or the npm script for developers who are using Node.js. Another benefit is managing updates more efficiently with change sets. So MMT groups template modifications into what we call change sets, which means you can modify multiple templates, CSS, or JavaScript files at once, and then commit them in one single batch. This makes it really easy to track changes, roll back updates, and maintain consistency across your source templates. So an example workflow would be a developer is working on a feature request that affects the homepage, global CSS, and product page layout. So instead of making changes one by one in the admin, they create a single change set in MMT by modifying all the necessary local files and then pushing them to the store at once. If they ever need to roll back to a previous state, the entire change set can be reverted, not just the individual files. MMT also has version control-like functionality. While MMT isn't a replacement for Git, it does provide version control-like functionality for Miva store templates and resources. You can see modified files before pushing updates. You can track previous versions of templates and scripts. You can have diff changes to compare modifications. Excuse me. And you can even roll back edits if something goes wrong. So whether you're making small tweaks to CSS or overhauling product templates, or collaborating on store development, MMT gives you the tools you need to work efficiently, track changes, and push updates seamlessly. Also, remember, pairing MMT with Miva IDE for VS Code makes it even more powerful, giving you access to code intelligence, debugging tools, and improved syntax support. Okay, so now that we understand why MMT is so powerful, let's take a deeper dive into its features and real-world use cases so you can see exactly how you can use it in your development workflow. Let's start off by understanding MMT's directory structure. One of the first things that you'll notice when using MMT is that it organizes the store's templates and resources into a structured directory system. So when you check out a store using MMT, it creates 5 main directories on your local machine. Let's talk through each one of them. First one is templates. This folder contains all the managed templates for your store. So each page, storefront, product page, basket, has its own .mbt file. Any items assigned to the page, like product header and footer, also get their own MBT file as well. In addition to template files in that directory, each page has its own JSON settings file that stores configuration details such as product display, options, layout preferences, or assigned modules. The next one is the CSS directory. It stores all the CSS files used in your store's design. Excuse me. Each CSS resource has an associated JSON file that controls settings like whether the CSS file is active or inactive, if the CSS file should be global or local, and additional attributes. Oh, excuse me. Next, we have the JS directory. It works the same way as the CSS, containing JavaScript files, obviously. Each script is either a local file or inline script, both of which can be managed through MMT. Then we have the properties directory. So many Miva modules create custom properties, which are stored in this directory. These properties define specific behaviors for store components, for example, like red theme content sections. Like templates and CSS, properties are controlled via the JSON file. Finally, you have resource groups. This folder just contains settings for files for the resource groups within Miva. Here you can modify JavaScript or CSS resources that are linked to your source pages, allowing you to easily remove and add assets as you develop. Great, so that is the directory structure. Let's take a look at some of the common commands and the main commands that you'll be using in MMT. Before you can even check out pages, push pages, or anything like that, you need to authenticate your connection to your Miva store. And these commands include credential commands and remote. The first set here, you'll see MMT credential includes add, update, delete, list. Also, MMT supports two different types of authentications: an API token authentication, which uses an API generated in the Miva admin, and it also has SSH private key authentication, which is a secure method using your SSH keys. For those of you managing multiple stores, you can store multiple credentials and switch between them as needed. Finally, you have, next you have, once the credentials are all set up, MMT needs to know which store and branch that you want to work with. And for that, you use the remote commands. You have remote add, remote update, remote list. And these are, you could also have multiple remote for each branch in the store as well. And then once that's all set up, you can use the checkout function with the remote name that's connected to your credential. And finally, down there at the bottom, you see that we have the branch management commands. These commands are really useful and help you optimize the development workflow by being able to easily create new branches for testing and staging using MMT and not having to go through the manual process within the Miva admin. Okay, so those are some of the main commands that you'll be using. There's plenty more. We'll talk about some more once we get into the live demo part. Here are a couple other ones as far as version control features. Just like Git, MMT provides tracking, change comparisons, and rollback options. You'll see we have MMT status to view any locally modified files. If you've set up a diff config, you can compare local versus remote changes. You can do MMT revert, which will revert specific files, or you can do all of them. And then you have MMT push, which commits all the files that are modified locally. And you can add a message to that. You have to add a note to that to make sure that everything gets committed correctly for tracking. And then finally, you have pull, MMT pull, which fetches the latest changes from the store. So an example workflow for this kind of this version control type thing is that you would have a developer makes an update on the prod.mvt file. Then they run MMT status to confirm the changes. They use MMT diff to preview the change modifications. Once they're satisfied, they run MMT push with a note that says updated product page layout to commit the changes. And then if there's issues, they can use MMT revert to roll back any unwanted modifications. Sometimes developers need to switch between different environments, such as development and staging, and back to production. Switching between remotes can be MMT. You can use MMT switch for that. It updates the local checkout to a different branch or environment. A use case of this would be a developer works on a new feature in a staging branch, tests the updates, everything's good, it's approved. Then you can use MMT switch production to move everything into the live state. Finally, we've got tagging change sets for better tracking. MMT allows developers to tag specific commits for easy tracking in the future. Why tags make it easier to find important changes related to specific updates, so such as a bug release or a major template overhaul. An example is developers working on a Black Friday redesign tags their push with Black Friday _2025. If they ever need to reference it again, they can simply search for the tag instead of digging through multiple commits. So as you can see, MMT offers a really powerful set of tools for managing store templates, tracking changes, and streamlining collaboration between developers. So let's go ahead and walk through a live demonstration where I'll showcase these commands in action using the VS Code with the Miva IDE extension. You'll see firsthand how MMT simplifies template editing, version control, and store updates. In this demo, like I said, I'll be using VS Code. I will install and configure MMT. I'll check out and edit the product page template, and I'll show you some of the version-like commands to track pushes and changes. Here's a list of all of the commands that I'll be doing. So let's jump in and start with the install. All this information can be found at docs.miva.com under the MMT Command Line Tool section. You'll see that you need Python 3.6 or higher and pip installed locally for this to work. So if we go to VS Code here, I'm just using the PowerShell terminal, and you can see that I have Python. I have the correct version installed. So I'm going to do this. All right, so the first thing you need to do to install MMT is install the package. I have the package listed on this, but you can also find it here to find out more about it. Installing the package is as simple as pip3 install. I'm going to install mine at the user level. And it says it was successfully done. Let's double check. So if we do MMT version, it's going to tell me that I have 1.0.4, which is correct. Note, in some cases, I have seen the need to update environment variables on your machine to be able to use the MMT command. You can email developer_support@miva.com if you need assistance with this, but I've also found that some of the AI chat, like ChatGPT, do a pretty good job of pointing you in the right direction if you need some help. Once it's installed, the next step is to authenticate and link your MMT store. We'll start by adding credentials. So in order to add credentials, there's two ways you can do it. You can do it with SSH, or you can do it with a token. If you do MMT credential add --help, it will let you know all the parameters that are needed in order to create a credential. So for this example, we'll start first by doing the SSH key. I'm going to need to log into my store here. Oh, I am logged in still. Great. All right. So the first thing you need to do is you need to, in order to use SSH credential type, you need a public and private key. On the docs, we have how to create these keys. It gives you the command that you'll need in order to create the SSH key. Miva only supports SSH-RSA format SSH keys. So we'll go ahead and we'll copy this right here. Go back to our tool, paste that right in. So it's going to generate a public and private key. It's going to ask you where you want to save it. You probably want to save it in the SSH directory, but for this example, I'm just going to save it in the directory that I'm working in. I'm going to call it Miva -SSH. I'm not going to give it a passphrase because this is just a demo, but I'm going to go ahead and press enter. All right, so now it's created. You can see here I have my SSH private and my SSH public key. For this, you're going to need to, the next step is to go into the Miva admin and update your user with the Miva, with the SSH public key. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my Miva admin. I'm going to go to edit my profile. And then you can see here that you can manage your SSH. So I'm going to go ahead and do this part off the screen here. Let's see you guys. I'm doing this off the screen because I don't want to share the SSH key. So let's go ahead and manage that. Okay. All right. So now I have my SSH key added to my user. The next step is to create the actual SSH key. So for the credential, so you're for this, you're going to say MMT credential add. We're going to add the URL, and the URL is just going to be the store URL with json.mbc. I'm going to go ahead and copy my URL. I'm going to delete this, say json.mbc. Next, we're going to need the username, so --SSH username. And in the admin, you can see that my username is Miva Learn. So I'm going to say equals Miva Learn. And finally, you need the path to your SSH private -key. And that's going to be in my same folder. And it's called Miva -SSH. All right, so, and then after you have all the parameters set up, the final step is to give it a name. We call this Miva Learn, so that's the name of my store, SSH. What did I do? URL. SSH username. Let's go. Let's see if it's better. All right, let's try this one more time. Clear it out. All right, so we've got credential add. We're going to go ahead and add the URL again. If something happened last time. json.mbc to my username, which is Miva Learn. Finally, all this. Learn. All right, there we go. And to confirm, we'll do, I probably spelled something wrong. That's what happens when you do a live demo. If you do MMT credential list, you can see that it has been added. Next, we'll go ahead and set up the token authentication as well. Before that, we need to go into the admin, go to settings, user management, API tokens. And here I'll go ahead and add a new token. I'll give this the MMT name. I already have that. I'm going to go ahead and copy my access token here. And I'm going to copy my signature, which I'll delete later, since this is just a demo. And then in my allowed IP addresses, I'm just going to allow everything for right now. I'm going to require the timestamp, and I'm going to press save. Once I have that set up, one final step I have to do is I have to add the token to the user interface group so that it has access to manage the templates. All right, so now since my token is set up, I can go back to my template or my code editor, my terminal, and say MMT credential add. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and just use the same one. And this time, I'm going to delete all of this. And we're going to use -- token equals copy my token. And then we're going to do -- sign in key equals, and then have my signing key in there. Finally, call it Miva learn dash. Okay. And so now if I do MMT credential list, it shows me that I have both of them in there. Like I said, it's important to note that if you manage multiple stores, you can add multiple credentials for different stores and switch between them as needed. Okay, so now since the credential is set up, you can use things like MMT credential update to delete it later, or to update it, or credential delete to delete it if you need to. But the next step now is to set up the remote connection for our store. This tells MMT which store and branch we want to work with. So for this, you're going to use the MMT remote add function or command. And if we do help, it will show you all the parameters needed. This one's a little bit simpler. You're just going to do MMT remote add credential. Actually, let me clear this. MMT remote add, and then you're going to add the credential key. And we called our credential key Miva learn dash token. Then you're going to add the branch name. And I just have mine as the default production branch. And then finally, you're going to have the store code. And my store code is ML. And then you just got to give it a name. So we're going to give it our name of Miva learn dash, and I'm going to call this production, just so I know that this is my production one. I can make another one for staging. I call it Miva learn staging, so on and so forth. So now if we do MMT remote list, you'll see that it has been added in there. Once again, you work with multiple branches, you can add multiple in there and switch between them very easily. Now, since I'm connected to my store, I'm going to go ahead and check out all the templates. So by doing this, I can do MMT check out. This gives you all the parameters that you can use for MMT checkout, but essentially all you need is the remote key and the path of where you want it. So if I do MMT checkout, and my remote key was Miva learn dash production, and I'm just going to add it to a folder called production within this directory that I'm in right now. And you can see that it will create the directory and it will add all of the templates here. So here's all of our directories that we talked about earlier, and all of our templates are inside here as well. Let's go ahead and make the update. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to modify the product page layout to include a conditional that will render the combination facet fit custom field. So if I go ahead and open up the prod dash product display MBT file here, you can see that this is the product display layout. I'm going to go ahead and find the name here. Here's the name. So right above the name, I'm going to add an MBT if, and you can see that the VS Code IDE is giving me the snippet for it. So then I can just go in and say L dot settings colon product colon custom field values combo facets colon, and my custom field is called YM. My combination facet code is YM, so it's going to be YM underscore fit. So now I'm just checking to see if it's available. And then if it's available, I'm going to go ahead and just add the code. All right, so now since I've added the template code, as you can see, I'm using the custom field values. Oops, sorry. I'm using the custom field values, but I don't have the combo facets assigned to the combo facets fit custom field assigned to the page. So in order to do that, I need to also update the prod.json. In here, you can see that you've got this section for all of the custom fields, and currently I have the main one. So if I go ahead and copy this, and then we're going to add the YM fit custom field code, and that comes from the combo facets module. All right, so at this point, we can go ahead and push the updates to my store. Close those out. Let's save that. So they've both been saved. All right. But in order to do this, you need to add a note to your store. If you have set up your config, your editor config to VS Code, which if you look at the developer docs, we have some instructions on how to do this. I have it currently set up to my VS Code with the dash wait. The dash wait is a command specific to the VS Code to tell an editor wait until the file is closed before continuing. It may be different for other ones. But let's go ahead and push these changes up. So I'm going to say clear. I'm going to do MMT push. And since I have my config set up to my VS Code editor, I don't need to put a note in there, but I do need to put path. And I'm going to say /production. All right, let's go into my production. And let's figure this out and MMT push. There we go. And you'll see that my note, my editor came up and it asked me to put a note for this. This is an update to add the combo facet fit custom. Okay, so I'm going to save that, close it. And now you can see that both my product display and my product JSON files have been updated. So I go back into the admin, user interface, display. We'll go down to the product display layout, where you can see that the year, make, model, fitment has been added. And then I have my code in here right there. So if you don't have your code editor set up, you're just going to have to do -N, which I'll show you that here in a second. But now since we made our updates, let's see how MMT handles version control like features. Let's make an update, another quick update to the product page. So I'm going to do prod. Oops, prod dash product display MBT. Okay, so instead of having just the default value output here, in the developer docs, we've added a conditional that will customize the output of it, and that looks like this. And like I said, this is available within the developer docs. Essentially, what it's doing is it's checking to see if the value is none, and then it's replacing it with a better value. Okay, so now since I have made that update, I've saved it. If we go back and we look at, and we do an MMT status, we can see that that template has been updated. And then if you have your diff editor set up, your config, I'm using a software called Meld, M-E-L-D. And if it's set up, you can do MMT diff, and it will open up your diff editor, show you the changes that have been made. If all of that looks okay, you can go ahead and close it out. Then you just need to push them up there. So I can do MMT push. This time I'll do -N and add my own note, and we'll say updated bit values. And it has been updated. This demo was all done using the production branch. You can use MMT branched commands to create a staging branch, then link up the remote key to the branch to streamline your testing process and everything. But as you can see, MMT really does streamline template management. This was just a quick and simple demo. You can set this up with any type of workflow that your team has, making it easier to track, edit, deploy changes efficiently and safely. So that wraps up the demo. Now that you've seen MMT in action, I'd love to open the floor for questions and discussions. If you have any, please feel free to email developer_support@miva.com, and I'll help you out with any of your questions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.